All right.
Good to see you, man.
Good to see you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, all gentle beings from the 28 known galaxies, I can't tell you how excited I am to talk to this next guest. I was going to talk to her at a past Mainframe Comic Con, and I'm glad she's come back. Now, I don't know if you're not watching Ozark, you should be. But you know, a great crime thriller is really only as good as your primary antagonist. And I don't think in television, at least modern television history, we have had as good of an antagonist as Darlene Snell. And Lisa Emery, I mean, this is a star turn in television history like we have never seen before. And if you have not seen the third season of Ozark, let me tell you, she takes her character to places that I think many actresses might fear to go. And so without further ado, I know you can't clap. At least you can clap where you're sitting now, but we can't hear you. But I know that for those of you who are Ozark fans, and if you're not an Ozark fan, it's only because you haven't seen it yet. What are you waiting for? Binge all 3 seasons. Let's give a great big Mainframe welcome to Lisa Emery, Darlene Snell herself. Oh my God, I'm terrified to sit across from you.
Oh my God, I'm here. I can't even believe I got here.
Well, first of all, let me just.
And I look fuzzy.
No, let me say thank you so much for being here because my God, to know you. I mean, I can't say to know you is to love you, but really to know you, if you watch Ozark, is to also hate you at the same time.
Oh,
and
well, good.
I mean, you have created a character for the ages.
Yeah.
And I've got to ask, I mean, first of all, I've talked to some of your compatriots, but I have to say, you wouldn't think this, I think, when I first started watching Ozark, but Ozark is truly a show where the female characters are at the very heart of the program.
Yeah, it's
and
not that way. It's great.
And you bounced around. You've been doing working, and you've done all different kinds of television shows, but this is the first time you've been front and center, a regular on a show, and you have a cast of just incredibly strong female characters. How did you get involved in Ozark, and what was it like? Did you know that your character was going to develop the way it has, that Darlene Snell would become one of the great villainesses of all television history?
No, of course not. I had no idea. I got the part by doing what you do as an actor, and you audition. And this one was like breezy. I just felt like I knew her, but I didn't find out for a while. And then I had to really figure out what was that I auditioned for, and I was so happy.
Was there a long period of time between when you auditioned to when you got the gig, you booked the job?
Not so long, but you audition for something and the next day you think, well, why haven't I heard anything?
Right.
What's the deal? Yeah.
Obviously Jason Bateman, I've heard from people how he's sort of set the tone. Everyone speaks so highly of him, and I know he's so involved in the series. Yeah. After you did the first season, I mean, obviously for people, when you're working in television, you never know what's going to happen. You don't know if it's going to be a hit. You hope it's going to be a hit. Now, you were working, obviously Ozark is a Netflix show, so you knew you were going to get multiple episodes. You knew you were going to at least get an entire first season.
I knew nothing.
Oh, you didn't?
No. I mean, eventually I found out that, I was going to continue on. I mean, the very first day I got to set, I had to plunge a hypodermic into Bobby Dean's back, which was fun and interesting. And I knew that I was going to be Peter Mullen's wife, but I had no idea that I would have a life, like such a rich life going forward. And I just got to say to anybody who's out there, any of you working actresses over 60, just keep going, keep plugging away, plug away.
Well, I mean, one of the great things is, like
Walk
you just
away
said,
with your gun.
I mean, actresses over 60, and you now have your young boy toy
Oh,
on the
yeah.
show. I
Oh,
mean, even that's pretty transgressive. I mean, you don't see that. Like suddenly you're in a relationship with somebody who's, normally it's the reverse. You've got a man in
yeah.
his 60s having an affair with a woman in their 20s, but
Yeah.
no, not
That
on this show.
the writers about this. I mean, when Chris Mundy told me that that was going to be my next, now actually I heard it from Jason first, but that was my trajectory in episode 3. I just thought, oh, nobody's going to buy this, you know, and yet, I mean, it's just been amazing.
Oh,
It's been great. And I love that they like turn the tables on that, old thing.
oh, it was. I mean, your character, the way I have a theory about Ozark. It's my own a viewer theory, and my theory is everyone is in hell. Like the show, you're in purgatory. You're actually in hell, and
Absolutely.
and there's nothing. Every time you try and do something,
No exit.
it just drags you deeper and deeper, and everyone's going to lose their soul, and
Yeah.
because it really is about, and you're like the devil. You are Satan, your character, and you're the only person on the show that's true to their nature. Like there's no lying, and who Darlene is exactly, she's the most honest person on the show, really, because she doesn't hide anything. She's not trying to trick anybody. You are exactly who you say you are. And
Saying that, like, I look at that episode after Marty killed the preacher, and Wendy's cleaning up, and I just think, you had to do it. Like, what's the problem? Clean it up, move on. I mean,
right.
Lisa as Darlene watching it, that's what I think. I just think, okay, bury him in the graveyard. Come on.
Right.
Sorry, am I scaring you?
No, well, no, this is fantastic. But I'm curious, as a working actress, uh when you get material like Ozark,
Mm.
can you recognize, like, was it different from another script that you've read? Like if you're going to do like a procedural, like a Dick Wolf show or something, and a procedural has a formula, and you
Yeah,
you come in, and I mean, I loved your Kilgrave's mom, the Purple Man's mom,
yeah,
and which was fantastic. And again, you had a great demise sort of in that show, and it was cool to do a Marvel series. But
yeah.
this show, as an actress, watching it develop and when you get the scripts in,
So far superior to anything that I've ever done beyond stage, because I mean, I've done O'Neill plays, and I mean, I've done so many plays on Broadway and off where the writing was delicious.
yeah.
So to find this in a television, not television, but Netflix, whatever, Jesus, it's everything to me. It's everything is the script.
Well,
Everything.
and it's a lot of the time when you're doing a TV show, like you have a writer's room, obviously, and based on an actor's performance, the writers can sometimes tailor the scripts when they see an actress or an actor is really cooking with fire and is really creating something indelible that might not have even been expected when you were cast, but seeing how you're gelling with the rest of the cast as it moves forward. Have you seen that Darlene has been developed in ways that have surprised you over the course of 3 seasons?
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised that I've even been developed, but
Wow. Okay.
this makes me crazy happy because, first of all, because, oh God, I just got to say, if you think they're writing for me because I am such a killer, that's not it. But
Well, that's got to be some of it.
No. Yeah. Well, it's, everybody has an inner devil. But the thing is that I love to not argue. I love to not argue with somebody and have a long dialogue about somebody who I know is wrong. I would rather just shoot his pecker off. I mean, why not?
Right? Why not? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But now, have you with do they tell you, like, how does that work? Because obviously, um, when you're making a Netflix show, there's block shooting with this, and you're shooting all the episodes. You're going to make all the episodes of the season because they all drop at once.
Yeah.
So do you get all of the scripts at one time?
No, never. I would love that because then I could really trace my journey.
Right.
Ozark doesn't work that way. Maybe some people get all their scripts.
Well,
Get more and more, as we go along.
Could you take us through like what is the production of Ozark like? How many months do you shoot, and how much is it on location, and how much is it on stages? How does that work?
A lot of it now is on stages. The farm that I shared with my dear Jacob, who's gone, has been completely and gorgeously reconstructed on a stage because I think my impression is that the people who were donating their house for this saw the first season and just said it didn't really follow their values.
Traditional, yeah.
Well, we respect you, and at the same time, this is not what we didn't want somebody's head blown off in our living room and
right.
drug dealing in our barn, and I all due respect. So they built an incredible facsimile of our porch. I talked to my brother and sisters, and they had no idea that I wasn't really outside. And
right, yeah,
yeah. God, they're so good, man. Amazing what they can do.
So do you shoot on? Well, there's a lot of location stuff,
yeah.
like in season 3, like at the county fair or whatever that is.
Out of Atlanta.
So it's all done in Atlanta.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it is. I know other people have gone to Savannah.
Right. Okay.
But all my shoots are in the Atlanta area. Yeah.
And now, where do you live? Are you in California? Are you in New York?
New York City, Lower East Side.
Okay. So how long do you get to go back and forth?
I get to go back and forth, which is such a blessing, but I don't know what's going to happen for season 4. I don't know.
Right.
If I'm going to arrange all that. Nobody wants to be in an airplane these days.
Yeah.
A hotel, and that's what I've been doing. But it's hard for me to relocate.
Well, now when the last time I spoke with one of your castmates was a new she was added to the 3rd season, our FBI agent.
Yes.
And by the way, she was delightful.
She's great.
She's so great. And her character was great too. And I said to her, I go, I told her my theory. I said, you're getting dragged into the depths of hell as well. You're doomed. You realize that. You're doomed like everybody else on the show.
Well, I just find that baby in her tummy.
Oh, yeah. I can only imagine. But since that time, she didn't know whether or not you guys were going to get a 4th season. And since then, they've announced not only a 4th season, but it's going to be an expanded season.
Yes.
What was that like for you to hear about? Like, not knowing, with Netflix, a lot of the time after 3 seasons, they're done. They announce, well, this show is done. But now you're not only getting a 4th season, but an expanded season. What's that like for you as an actor to know that, wow, what a vote of confidence for the work that we've been doing?
So many things. First of all, wow, it is a vote of confidence. Secondly, I have work coming up.
Right.
It's a great thing. Third, I love Darlene. I believe in her. I do. I just think she's she's true to herself, as you said before.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but we all know in Ozark that anything can happen. I never knew that Wyatt would become my young lover. Anything can happen. So, you just sort of, yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, Jessica was saying, Jessica Francis Dukes, who plays
Yeah.
our new FBI agent,
My
the same thing. I mean, she had no idea that they would add a character, and she was telling me that she was a fan of Ozark before she even got the role. Like she was an avid watcher of the show.
Yeah.
And I think one of the interesting things, for whatever reason, crime thrillers, there's been so many, beginning with things like The Sopranos, where television really began to be elevated to the point. I think television, in terms of great drama, has supplanted movies, and really, when you have these auteurist shows, whether you have a Breaking Bad and a Better Call Saul, you had The Sopranos, and now you have Ozark. It is, for you as a performer, what is it like to know that you're working on a show that has a real vision behind it, that that the writers, the producers, Jason Bateman is directing a lot of the episodes now? Is it easier for you to come to work knowing that you're in such good hands, that you as a performer, you don't have to...
The difference in the world. I mean, I've been lucky and I've had great projects, and a lot of them have been on stage. But with Ozark, I have never thought, oh God, I gotta go to work. I gotta get on the plane. It's nothing but, oh my God, when can I get back there? It's a rare thing for me in television, because I don't have, I'm used to playing little slices of life and guest parts, but for me to have a beginning, middle, and end is on television is incredible, because that's what you have in a play. You have a whole arc and you have a whole journey. But my experience with movies and TV up till now has been, I say Netflix like it's TV, but I mean a series.
Right.
Has been, a little slice of somebody, the victim or the victim's mother or the grieving mother, or, it's like you do it, but it's not like you are so looking forward to going to work, which is the way I feel with Ozark. I just feel like, oh my God, I can't wait.
Now, do you read... A lot of actors, sometimes they don't read all the scripts, they read their parts and things like that. Do you read all of the scripts?
Every single one, over and over.
Now, were you surprised by the end of the final scene, like in the third scene? There's a couple of great, there's some great resolution. Your character has a great resolution. There's a great revelation. I don't want to give it away for people who haven't watched the show.
I think I already know.
But then Marty, the Bird family, also has an incredible... the end of season 3 was both incredibly satisfying, and it also primes the pump for season 4. You're like, oh my God.
Really well. It really did that well. I mean, for me, it was amazing, because it ended on such an optimistic note. And all Darlene ever wanted was a family, So,
and a thriving business.
And a thriving business run by people from where I live, not Chicago people coming down.
Right.
My people.
And you do good business. You take care, as long as your people are loyal.
Yeah.
They don't have anything to worry about.
It's not big cartel business. Well, but it's my business. And I think I do it really well.
Do you think, this is sort of jumping ahead, but do you think when the series is over, is Darlene going to still be standing? Do you think you will in the end? Because I believe that you will be. I don't think the birds are going to be, but I think you will be. I think Darlene is eternal. depending on on just exactly, even though you've committed heinous crimes and horrible transgressions and you've committed sin, but when you're in hell it's okay because you're already there.
Yeah. I think I believe that she should still be standing because I think that she's the most honest and true to herself person in the show, with, no matter how twisted, the best of motives. But I don't see how any series can end with such a heinous creature surviving. That's actually what I think.
You know, you might be right, but I have to tell you, you know, what I love about Darlene is when she does something, she's going to do it well. Like, even though you're going to bed down with somebody who might be 40 years younger than you, you're going to rock that dude's world. You're going to show him things and take him places no girl that's his own age is going to show him. You know,
Wyatt. Oh, my love.
What was it like when you found out? Did you have any inclination that one of the great romances of the show was going to be between you and Wyatt? Like, did they tell you this was going to happen, or did you just read it in the script for the first time?
Called me and said, you know, we have this arc for Darlene. And I think I screamed when he said that, because I thought it was so brilliant and so audacious. And the way that they build up to it as we went along, about just like seeing that he was in jail and thinking, this guy he deserves better.
Right.
You know, I mean, and then hiring him and then living in the same, I mean, you know, yeah. And she is up for adventure.
Sure. And he's also a local boy.
He's a
local boy.
His sister. Yeah.
And again, you've come in and sort of, you're taking care of him. What the missing element, you're also providing this familial, twisted as though it may be, you're providing something that he hadn't had, you know?
Exactly. I mean, he lost his mother. He lost Menchaca. I mean, Mark Menchaca, Russ.
Yeah.
His uncle. Uncle or dad? It was his dad.
Well, yeah, his dad. His dad got out of jail.
Yeah.
So, you know, again, back to this, I mean, you just look at the cast of the female characters, like Jessica added to the season, but Laura Linney and Julia Garner, who, you know, I didn't know if Julia Garner was somebody they found locally. I mean, I'm like, where did she come from? And you, I mean, the three of you are this formidable, talk about girl power or having roles for women that are this well written and this well developed.
And also Helen Pierce.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And she's fan. Oh God. And I don't want to talk about what happened, but man, what a character that was brought front and center into season 3. And she's amazing. And you don't have
brilliant actress.
So did the 4 of you, I guess, were you ladies, did you recognize that how rare to have these kinds of roles, not just one great female role, but to have a show that's really built around the female roles, to have it? And, you know, Jason Bateman doesn't seem to have any problem sort of staying back and allowing the female protagonists to take front and center.
Yeah.
That's pretty unique, isn't it?
Very, very, he's very great. But to answer your question, I didn't know it was heading there, but after I read season 4 and I saw what was going on, and at the end of season 3, I thought, oh my God, it's our turn. The women are coming out. I mean, Wendy is stronger and ruthless than Marty is. Ruth is so smart and won't take shit from anybody. And Darlene's Darlene. And Helen was a genius. I mean, she was so good at her job. She was just a little greedy, I think. Too bad.
Are you aware, like to have I don't know if you guys talk about it, or was there a conscious effort on the part of the producers to have the show develop and really make it about the female protagonists
I
as
don't know.
opposed?
I really don't. I don't know. I think, I mean, to my mind, it just evolved that way, but I
Right.
never asked anybody if they had planned initially to steer it that way. I don't know. I just think it's great. I love that they did that.
I think it's rare that you see female protagonists as strong, because everyone is so strong
Yeah.
and they're not compromised. Um, the writing does not compromise them in any way, and
Mm.
I think that's really refreshing to see. We have the Comic Core is asking, says Ozark needs a spin-off series, the Snell origin show.
Yes.
Where did you come from?
Yes.
But
And
if they're
I'm not really a Snell. I married a Snell.
right,
So it's interesting.
as long as like you'd have to, like, maybe they go back and forth in time so they could cast somebody as like your teenage self, and
Yeah.
it'd be like Godfather 2, where we could go back in time and see you today dealing with some problem, and then we go back and see how you became you.
And of course, I would also be my younger self because that would be so easy to do.
Well, I mean, but if you had your adolescence, like as a child, where's your character when she's like 9?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's her whole pathology? How did she become Darlene?
Yeah, it would be the opposite of a baby in a basket being discovered on a river. It'd be some horrible, some trial by fire, some horrible crucible, that hardened you up as an 8-year-old and sent you on your path.
Or blame the mother,
Right. Oh, Shauna Lindsay asks, after Jessica Jones and Ozark, do you have anything else in the works at Netflix?
No,
I bet you will, though.
I hope so.
Do they? I mean, does Netflix? Obviously, you have casting directors that love actors, but when do you have any relationship with Netflix, with the executives there, or is it strictly the production company and the people that make Ozark? Like, do you ever hear from executives or higher ups at Netflix who just call you and say you're amazing?
No, I mean, my relationships are all with the production.
Right.
And I know I went to a really big fancy party at a big Netflix bigwig for the SAG Awards.
Right. Okay.
But I don't think I actually got to know anybody there, or I'm a little shy at places like that. Like, I tend to take my shoes off and sit.
Did people come up to you at the party, or were they scared of you?
Everybody's so scared of me. Nobody's scared of me. No. People usually don't recognize me, especially when I'm all duded up.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Now, you said you came from the theater. Do you prefer the theater as opposed to doing like a series? Is it? I mean, it's obviously it's a different kind of acting, but
Yeah, it's a different kind of acting. I can't even say, while I'm off from Netflix, I work a few months out of the year, and then I can't do plays that I'm offered because
they run long.
it'll interfere. So I have to say that I crave doing a play. Laura has worked it out really well. She's an amazing stage actress. And, it's just lottery, especially now.
Yeah.
There is no theater and there's very little production. I mean, I can't say I love one more than the other.
Mm-hmm.
I like making money, and you don't make money so much in theater, but I'll tell you, I crave a play. I crave a play, a good play. I love doing a good play.
Now, I'm sure a lot of people would be interested in your background. Was acting something that was in your blood from an early age? And
Yeah.
how did you begin pursuing the life of a thespian?
It was kind of by chance. I mean, I was in a couple of high school plays with like little parts, and I never took it seriously. But my freshman year of college, my roommate encouraged me to sit and watch one of her acting classes. And then it was an epiphany. I wanted to be a painter. I wasn't a very good artist, but it was an epiphany. And I changed my major that day, and I never looked back. That was it. That's all I wanted to do.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you have any early memories of were there some plays or monologues that really touched you? And did you have favorite playwrights, or what were some of your touchstones and inspirations?
I mean, I started out doing a Lanford Wilson play at the Circle Rep Company in New York. I'm sure that's not going to resonate with anybody, but I mean, he's dead now. He was a master. He was a master. And I've done Eugene O'Neill plays. I've done plays by almost every great playwright in New York. Jordan Harrison.
What was it like the first time for you stepping out on stage in front of your first audience? Was that something that was it terrifying? Was it exciting?
What was really amazing was I had the lead role in a Lanford Wilson play, and it was on Broadway. And it was in this play called Burn This. And it started out with somebody banging on the door, and I have to stumble out of the bedroom and answer the door. And as soon as I came out of the room, I was absolutely, there was like a wall of people, just a wall of people and a wall of energy. And, I had the lead in this play. I can't even tell you. Yeah, it's a really incredible experience. You can't experience that on camera because,
you don't have the audience. There's the people. You got the crew.
My heart was pounding. The guy who was banging on the door came in and he started shaking me, like, wake up. And then I snapped to and I was fine. But man, that initial thing was just amazing.
Mal Brain, one of our viewers, says, "What was it like working with the great Peter Mullen?"
Yeah, well, amazing. He's great. He's fucking my heart. It was wonderful. It was just wonderful. It was like acting with, your best friend in a good pair of pajamas. And I know I'm swaying back and forth. I don't know why I do that. It was like being in your pajama and slippers, acting with somebody who was so easy and so good and so true and honest and dependable. And I've seen him in so many things.
Yeah.
Then, yeah, he's so good.
So now that you started developing a background in theater, how did you transition over to doing television and film? And was that hard? Was that transition difficult, or did it happen at the same time? Like once you had gotten into theater and made the decision to follow your bliss there, when was the first time you did a television show or a film, and what was that experience like?
I think in New York, you do what you love to do. I loved theater. And then, people come and see it, casting people, and then you have auditions for small parts. And I mean, I worked with a director at the New Group, Scott Elliott, who directed me in many plays, and then he got to direct a big movie, and he cast me in it. So it's just like, you keep plugging away, and then you meet people, or you get more and more auditions, and then
Sure.
It happens gradually. And I don't feel like as an actor I ever had to focus on something. I just wanted to work. I love work. I just wanted to work, and I love theater.
Was it different when you work in television and movies, you're shooting pieces? sometimes maybe even one line of dialogue before there's another setup. Whereas in theater, you might be on stage for 2 hours.
Exactly.
So did you have was it difficult to transition over to acting for film and television, or was it easy to pick up? I mean, I know some actors have told me that it was hard because you're expected to keep that performance up. Like, okay, we're gonna shoot a scene over the next 5 hours, and you've got to keep that level of acting with each piece that we're shooting, and it's much different than immersing yourself into a character on stage for 2 hours.
Yeah, it is. It is different, but acting's acting.
Okay.
I mean, just, you're there and you know your lines, and I think it was like Jimmy Cagney or somebody who said, you look the other guy in the face and you tell the truth. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're on stage, or doesn't matter if you're on film. It's acting. It's just, I mean, there's certain modifications that you make. You don't have to like throw your voice out there like you do. But now, all Broadway stages, even off Broadway stages, are mic'd now.
Right.
Which is sad to me, because, you go through all this training where you learn how to project, and then you have to shut up.
Our viewer of the Comic Core has decided that the Snell origin story should be a musical. The Broadway musical.
Darlene don't sing. So you're gonna have to cast somebody else in that one.
Well, maybe that's the title of the musical.
Darlene don't sing.
Yeah, and you're the whole thing, the whole joke is that everybody around you is, but you don't.
I did sing a Johnny Cash song to my baby.
Yeah.
Walk the Line, right? Did you like it?
Yeah.
It's very, very low voice.
That's great.
Yeah.
And Johnny Cash would be exactly the person she would sing.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure Johnny Cash was revered in the Snell household.
Yes, of course he was. As he is in mine.
So I mean, I feel that. So how long? So it was in college that you started to act.
Yeah.
Now, did you leave college? Did you do more classes, or did you go right into acting on Broadway? How was there a transitional?
Oh, Jesus. My college was in Virginia. I apprenticed at a now defunct theater in Richmond, Virginia, called Virginia Stage Company. And that was a good experience in some ways. And then I moved back home, which was outside of Philadelphia. Then I moved to Philadelphia, and I started working in these little theaters in Philadelphia. And then I just thought, if I'm going to do this, I got to go to New York. And I went to New York, and I was at sea. It was very tough. Well, it was in 1978, which was like a nightmare time.
New York was not the glistening, amazing New York that it is today.
Right mind ever go to Times Square late at night. You would not even think about it.
That was Taxi Driver, New York.
Yeah.
That was Travis Bickle driving around.
It was definitely very Bickle. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of little Jodie Fosters. Oh. But, then you start to love it. And I went back to school for a year out of the 2 years.
You went back to school in New York?
Yeah, because I was so lost. I had no guidelines. I had no equity card. I had no, I did my share of waiting tables. I did a lot of stuff. And then one of the teachers in my school said, why don't you quit and come with me, because they're forming this lab at the Circle Rec Company. And I did that, and that led to a relationship with Lanford Wilson, Marshall Mason. That got me to Broadway. Not right away. It was gradually getting to off Broadway, and then, it took some years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chuck Load of Comics asks, what was the casting process like for Jessica Jones?
Chuck, I don't even remember. I mean, I'm sure I went in there without a big prosthetic? Prosthetic?
Yeah, prosthetic.
I said pathetic scar on my face. I mean, I think I went in and read and then got it. I don't think it was a drawn out process.
Did you, knowing that you were going to be on a show that was based on a comic book and it was going to be for Marvel, did you ever take a look at the Alias, the Jessica Jones comics at all?
No, I didn't. I didn't. I
I mean, a lot of actors don't. Being that this is Mainframe Comic Con, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you that question.
No, of course. I kind of wish I did. I had never heard of them. I've never heard of Jessica Jones before. So I think I just read it and thought, well, this is a very clear, I mean, what's his name? Kilgrave,
Yeah,
of course. Just I
the Purple Man.
researched him and then thought, what would it be like to be his mother?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you got to work with the great David Tennant. I mean, what he seems
a blissful person to work with, just completely himself, completely honest, someone to just talk to. Yeah, he made it easy.
I mean, he was great. I don't know if you've ever seen Broadchurch, the show Broadchurch.
I love it. I love
so
it.
good. He's so good. And then of course he was Doctor Who, but Broadchurch really was what an amazing bit of acting.
He's amazing. He's just one of the best.
And again, I mean, that was another show where you're guaranteed. I think Jessica Jones was 13 episodes. It's that first season. So was that experience? I mean, with Jessica Jones, obviously, also on Netflix, and they had made the whole season. Was the experience of working on Jessica Jones, was it similar to Ozark, and did it sort of prep you for, because normally, shooting, knowing you're going to do a whole season, that's a lot of work to set out in front of anyone.
Yeah. No, it wasn't. It wasn't similar. Ozark is somehow so much. It's so low stress. It's so welcoming, and perhaps if I had more to do in Jessica Jones, it would have become like that for me. But it was
right.
It wasn't a family.
Yeah,
there seemed to be a lot of stress.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was also told when Jessica interviewing her, she did say the same thing. She said the set there is so welcoming and warm, and it's like a family.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting to me to hear that, because I mean, obviously it's you're acting, but the show is so the opposite of that.
Yeah. Love fest. I know it is. And we all just kind of like really get into the fact that we're all so different, and I've known Laura for a long time.
And you guys had some great moments together too.
God, yeah. Yeah.
When you guys get together to do those scenes, are you cracking up? Are you laughing, or are you doing the work? I mean, I would think that those scenes, especially, you're about to kill each other or getting some kind of a smash in the face. I mean, are those scenes hard to do? Is it hard to get through those scenes?
There's always humor there, and there's a certain amount of kidding around, but basically you have to kind of keep your concentration on the next shot.
Right.
And it's very hard to have to smack somebody like I do with Laura at the farmer's market or whatever it is.
It was awesome.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Yeah, I gotta say, I am not one who has to sit backstage or off camera and have to meditate on what I'm going to do and stay in character. It's not my thing. But with this, I have really learned to go off and just think about what I have to do.
Right.
Because I think it's such a good show and I don't want to fuck up, you know? I want it to be true, and yeah.
Is it hard for you to turn the character on and off?
No. No, I've been in that boat before, but not with this one. You know.
Right.
No, she's somebody I love, and I climb into her suit of clothes and then I shed them at the end of the day. Yeah.
Well, that's another thing. Like I think a lot of people don't necessarily realize that wardrobe and things like that there's a whole department that comes up with things like the wardrobe. But since you brought up the idea of clothes, do you have input? Do you work with the costume department, the hair and makeup people, to sort of add to your character? Like if you made certain decisions in that way to sort of take the character in a direction that you feel more comfortable, or that it becomes more real to you?
I feel like we're all very simpatico. I mean, costumes, sadly enough, in the fall and winter, I dress much like Darlene, even though I live in New York. I don't have any black thigh-high boots. You know, I mean, I'm pretty practical, and I grew up in the country. But makeup, makeup, you know, it's hard because Darlene just doesn't wear it. And as an actress, I have never gone on camera without wearing some kind of makeup. And I would beg for lipstick, and she'd hand me a chapstick. And I really respect it. And Jason's whole thing was that, you know, he wants people to look real. And I've grown to, in my personal life, just to say, forget about the makeup. Besides, half my face is covered with a mask, so when I go out now. But it's just like...
But that's pretty fearless. I mean, you know, from an actress...
Mother, thank you.
From that kind of perspective, I mean, that is pretty fearless.
Yeah.
And again, not only are you not wearing makeup, but you also, in a way, you're the sex pot of the show. You know, you're the one now. You're the one that's getting down with the young fellas.
Yeah.
And so it's pretty. That's again pretty fearless. By the way, the Comic Core just said Lisa is the coolest. So
what?
and then Anakin Crespin now says, "Damn, you're fine as fuck."
Best compliment I've ever gotten.
So yeah. There you go. Definitely. I mean, you've certainly got fans here.
You know, I also have to say, like, makeup is one thing, but I've never fucked with my face, you know, which is very, very, very difficult in these times. But
yeah, but you can see it,
Darlene, if I'd done the thing, you know.
I just, you know, there's so many. Like I've always loved people's faces, and when you are a fan of movies and television, there's people that, like, I'm a huge fan of Charlotte Rampling.
Yes,
and Charlotte Rampling,
above all,
she has never messed around with her face.
Those hooded eyes, she is like.
I mean, when you watch her back in the 70s in crazy movies like Zardoz, or when she was in Stardust Memories for Woody Allen, I mean, so unbelievably beautiful.
Yes.
And she's going to be in the Denis Villeneuve's upcoming adaptation of Dune.
Yeah.
She's the
oh my God, I didn't know that. That's amazing.
Yeah, she's the head of the Bene Gesserit Sisterhood. I mean, she's Reverend Mother Mohiam. I mean, she's a big character. And you know, I mean, I remember watching when I was a kid, watching her in The Night Porter, and I'm like, I shouldn't be watching this.
I watched that recently again. I go back to her movies all the time.
Yeah, and she's again a fearless actress, but she's herself, but she is incredibly beautiful. I mean, her face is, I mean, now it is so striking, and she's such a, and so it's interesting to hear you say that, because I think that I like people I like people's faces, and
I do too.
I don't like when people have work done and you're like,
That's
that
all
doesn't.
I see when I look at them. That's what I see. I see like the work. I don't see the person anymore.
No, and it's strange because I'm always like, but you don't. It doesn't look real, you
Yeah.
know. And I think one of the appeals of, like, I'm always using the word verisimilitude, the creation, the appearance of reality. And my whole thing in movies and television is I love things that have great verisimilitude.
Me
And
too.
one of the things about Ozark is it is not the way it's lit, the way it feels very real. And part of the, I think the part of the appeal of the show is it's utterly believable. It never moves into a realm like, you know, you watch episodes of some of the procedurals that are on networks like CSI Miami. Every shot is filtered and beautifully lit. None of it looks like the real world.
Yes.
It's got that very, but Ozark is the exact opposite. It looks incredibly real.
And it's dark, you know. It's yeah.
You know, they're not afraid of
things that I hate the most is watching any movie or any TV show, anything where inevitably it's a scene in bed, people are sleeping, and the woman is in full makeup. What woman in this world? And she's wearing a bra. It's just like, I can't. That's what I say. I just say, why are you wearing mascara to bed?
I know. I look, I get it. I understand why people do that. And you know, on a movie, as you know, you've got hair and makeup people between every shot, every setup, and you know they're making last looks, and you are made to look perfect. Some of it has to do with continuity, obviously, from shot to shot, but for the most part, I think it does interfere with the believability of some of the things that you watch, and obviously movies and TV.
It puts me right out of it.
Yeah, and well, I think that's one of the things with this new generation. I mean, we're living through a golden age of great television drama. The writing on TV is so stellar, and I think the production values are. I mean, Ozark is a very, even though it's gritty, it's also very beautiful. I mean, the natural locations that you're shooting at, and it has there is a call it maybe a dark beauty, but it is a beautifully made, beautifully crafted show.
Yes, it is.
But yet you also believe it. You know, the verisimilitude is strong with that show.
I think so too. I think that's exactly why I love it so much. And I think that comes from Jason Bateman, because he, you know, he told Rita, the makeup person, he never wants, you know, tendrils. You know, he just wants people to look like people. And it was really like a matter of just letting go of the vanity and just, you know, which is not hard for a woman over 60, well over. I mean, which is not easy, but it was very freeing. It just made me feel like, that's great. That's great. I have nothing to depend on except for a true connection with who I'm working with.
Well, you know, it's when I interviewed for this convention, Jessica Dukes, I mean, she's a beautiful woman.
Yeah.
And she's perky and funny and effervescent and totally different from her character on the show.
Yeah.
And you know, I've met lots of actors throughout my life and work with them, and I never expect people are acting, but what it reiterated to me was, again, her portrayal of that FBI agent is also, like everyone else, Laura Linney and you are fearless. And the fact that was willing to immerse herself in that part. I mean, it's funny that with a show like this, that Julia Garner is the one that appears the most made up, like she's the most dolled up for business or whatever. I mean, her character in the show.
She's also the youngest of all.
Yes,
I mean, she's quite young, and she's quite naturally beautiful, but she doesn't overdo makeup.
No, not at all. But
And
I just think that all of the female performers in the show, like you said, there is an element of when you see yourself on screen, it's hard to reveal yourself to be
it really is. I mean, I look at it and I just go, oh, okay, this is what's on your plate, Lisa. Embrace it, you know.
But that's something you don't get normally. I mean, I've talked to people about, producing things. I've produced some things myself, and I'm like, look, the first line of defense, I always tell people there are two things that you need to know if you want to produce anything that are most important. One is you have to make sure you have great catering, because your crew will know on lunch the first day if their producers are taking care of them, because they want great food. And the second thing you have to do is you have to get the best hair and makeup people that you can, because your actors need to know when they walk out in front of that camera that they look good. There can't be any doubt. And then people always think that I'm nuts when I tell them that. I'm like, nope, you have to understand the rest of it will take care of itself. You'll figure out the logistics, but you need to make sure that your crew is taken care of and that your actors are taken care of. And they know that going into the first day, because you're a director and a producer, you have until lunch. You have to win your crew over the first 3 hours of that day, and that's really important. You got to set the tone. And so it's always interesting to me when I'm watching Ozark, because you guys have allowed, even Jason Bateman himself too. He allows himself to look completely. He's not hiding his age or who he is. And again, that's all part of, I think, the appeal of the show. Yeah. And that's not something that you see very often.
Yeah. So when you talk about makeup people taking care of you, the fact that these makeup people take care of me by not allowing me to, they don't permit me to, I beg for a little blush. It's like, and they're like, no, they've made me really brave. This whole thing has made me brave.
But yeah, I mean, and where you went in the third season, that was pretty crazy too. And it's what show has that kind of a you're now romantically linked. You've got the great romance now on Ozark, which I don't think that's going to end well. I don't see that.
I think we'll be fine.
You think so?
I do.
You're going to make it? It's going to go. Well, so let me ask you this. Where do you, like, if you, without revealing it, have you read any of the season 4 scripts?
No, have they been written? I talked about it with Chris Monday.
So do you have a vague idea of where?
I have a vague idea of where I'm going.
Yeah. So we don't know with COVID. We have no idea. You guys don't have a date, I would imagine. You have no idea when.
I heard early October, but the fact is, if anybody's paying attention to Atlanta, Georgia, it's just, I can't imagine it happening.
Right.
It's just, I don't know. I'll find out. That's what they projected. But,
well, who is doing well in Atlanta is Tyler Perry's production facility. They were making everybody actually live. They have his new studio facility is amazing. You were living, everybody that was working on, I think it was the show they just finished about Washington, D.C. Mm-hmm. They had everybody living on the barracks there. You had to come to the studio. You couldn't leave. Cool. Yeah, the whole crew had to stay there. Everyone was sequestered away, and then they shot everything they needed to shoot, which I'm like, well, that's the way to do it. And Tyler Perry's built that facility so he could do it there, which is amazing. And I think we're going to see more of that in terms of. I
was told that we would have, crews of people who were concerned about COVID, and they didn't talk about housing us. But they talked about a ventilation system in the studios, and I don't know.
It's a new world. Chuck is here, I guess.
Hi, Lisa.
Our time is almost up, but I have to tell you, Lisa, this has been a fantastic conversation. Thank you for being here. And
such a joy to talk to. It's so easy and so.
Lisa, I just want to say this has been well worth the wait. Let me just say that this was so great, man. I just enjoyed everybody in the chat. Just love hearing you guys talk. I mean, you covered so much ground. Such a nice person, Rob. You absolutely crushed it. So let's definitely do this again.
You crushed it.
I mean, it's easy. You know, it's so much fun to talk to somebody that whose work I love and whose show I've been enjoying, and you know, I was a little scared, to be honest, because I didn't know. Maybe there was a little too much of Darlene in you. Who knows?
Just a little bit.
But
What the fuck? I'm an actor.
But no, this has been delightful, and I'm such a fan. So thank you, and thank you for taking the time. The Hero Initiative, you know, the Mainframe Comic Con is all for charity, and these guys, they came up with it during the pandemic, and this is the third one that they've done, and it just keeps getting better every time. So because
cool.
people like you participate, so thank you very much.
Very cool.
Thank you both, guys.